Hello, and welcome to this taste challenge. Well, it was so overcast, it was so damp. It's still pretty damp, but there is clear sky, blue skies. Unbelievable. Amazing how the weather can change in a few hours. So that's very interesting and exciting, even. So I just can't get over it. Now, I have two. We got delayed earlier this morning. I was supposed to do Dawn Busters, but I could not do it because of the electricity went out for almost 2 hours due to the rainstorm, tropical rainstorm. So then, no thunder or lightning, but still. Then it started clearing up, and then now I see blue skies all to the north. So it's amazing. Maybe I'm amazed, as Paul McCartney would say. But anyway, I have two single malt Scotch whiskeys. Let's moisturize the cork. Moisturize the corks. So this is Trader Joe's, established 1967, as it says there, with its lion logo. Trader Joe's. Now, if you go and look on the website for Alexander Murray and Company, they have the same thing, black and white, but it's a different logo, and it says Alexander Murray and Son. Everything else is identical bottle, but this is produced for. It's procured. I didn't say they don't produce. This company, Alexander Murray and Company, does not make liquor. They are an independent bottler. They're a broker. They buy and sell liquor, whoever they can auction, or whatever they can get at an auction. There's many companies that do that. That's not unusual. That's very common in the United States. We have many liquor companies, but they don't distill anything. But anyhow, the fourth largest or the third largest beer company, I won't name the beer company. They don't produce any beer. They just have it made for them for the last 23 years. Although there is talk that they're going to start producing beer again on a limited basis. They're probably making more money having it made for them. But so yeah, Trader Joe's was established in 1967. I don't know if this has been around since 1967. It's possible. Trader Joe's may have always sold private label liquor. We only got Trader Joe's in our area in the last 25 years, 20 years. Baton Rouge and then Metairie, and then New Orleans next year. Trader Joe's was started in 1967 and purchased by Aldi in 1979. Yes, Trader Joe's is owned by Aldi. Real cork. Thanks to the Whiskey Scout, who he joins our hangout sometimes when he's able, as work permits. Another foil cap cover. He gave this to me in 2021 when he visited here. It's a great trip, great meetup. I'll have to go to Kansas and meet him one day. I always talk about going on trips, and then I go to Africa, Hawaii, Alaska, but I don't go up the highway to Kansas. But this is the Glenrothes. I know the label looks terrible, right? It's been corrupted by age and humidity and whatnot. The Glenrothes 1995. Now the Glenrothes distillery, if they have a website, I can't find it. Real cork. I'm usually pretty clever about finding stuff, but so both of these use real cork. There we go. Now the Glenrothes distillery, established in 1879, imported about. Oh my goodness, this is like seeing a ghost. I saw a ghost. Imported by Anchor Distilling Company, San Diego, California. Y'all know Anchor went out of business. There's talk about restarting it in San Francisco with this new owner, but nothing's happened. That could be a sham. But anyway, yeah. It was distilled in 1995. Then they bottled it and they aged it. Makes sense. They aged it from 1995 to 2013. I don't know why I said 2003 earlier. I was like discombobulated. But my electricity went out. It had me thrown off. But 1995 to 2013. So it was aged all those years, and then it was bottled, and Robert gave this to me. So thank you, Robert. It's a Speyside. Now, my friend David will say Speyside is like an inferior type of Scotch. I don't agree with that. I don't get into a big argument with him, but it's just a type of Scotch. He'll say, well, it's not smoky. And I try to tell him, I said, it doesn't mean it's inferior. It's just people have personal preferences. Some people like the more bready flavor. Some people like smokier. It's not a good or bad answer. It's a personal preference issue. So you might say, well, I'm into single malt Scotch, but I only drink Speyside. I like the bready, mild flavors. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's legitimate, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. This was age 18 years. I don't know why I was saying 15 years. It was age 18 years. 1995 to 2013, but my mind gets perplexed. But on the other hand, is the 18-year age going to make that big of a difference? I think it reaches like a limit where it'll make a difference, then it doesn't really make a difference. So we got 10-year age, 18-year age. Sorry for the problem. I just wasn't thinking straight. 10-year age, 18-year age. I think it will, but I think what's going to make the difference is the proof. 43% alcohol versus 40. It's minimal, but I think it will make a difference. Okay, so Berry Brothers and Rudd, they procure whiskey from Glenrothes. I guess Glenrothes doesn't have enough cash on hand to promote their own products and get them out there on the market. So they collaborate with Berry Brothers and Rudd. They send them different stuff and they put it on their website. Unfortunately, this is no longer, or maybe it was never on their website. I never could find it. But I've never been to Berry Brothers and Rudd, but I have been in front of Berry Brothers and Rudd. I went to England last year twice, on the way there to Europe, on the way back from Europe and Africa. And on the way back, I stopped and I went to St. James Street, it's called. There's a big palace there, which they didn't let me in. They didn't even invite me. They were having a party that night. I was tired anyway, but I would have gone. But I think Prince William and Princess Catherine were hosting the party, but they didn't call me. They didn't invite me. Just some of the security were looking at me hard, like, why are you looking? Because I was looking up the street, like looking in there, like, what are they doing over there? And some of those guys were looking at me like, you have a problem? And my answer to myself was, I don't have a problem and I don't want any problems. So I just kept on walking. I turned around and kept on walking. They gave me that bad look. I was like, oh, that's military intelligence division. I don't think I want to go and mess with them. But they were dressed very nicely. But I kept walking, and I got to Justinian and Brooks, J&B. It was closed, and I walked down the street, and there was Berry Brothers and Rudd, also closed because it was nighttime and it was cold. Oh, it was cold. And I had that windbreaker on. I said, man, I'm cold. But I I was going to go see Big Ben, you know, the big clock, but I said, I could look at photos on the internet. I'm too cold. It's too cold out here. But I did review a beer in England. I did do that. I thought I got to accomplish this. So I did eat a tuna sandwich on a tuna and red cheese sandwich. They call it tuna and red cheese. It was cheap. I bought it at a store. To me, it was pimento cheese. I said, that looks like pimento cheese to me, but they calling it red cheese. I said, okay. And then I bought this beer called Karpacki 9% from Poland. I could have gotten the 5% Budweiser, but I said, well, I get that in the United States, but it's very strange to find 5% Budweiser in England. But I found the Karpacki from Van Per in Poland, and I bought the can with a tuna sandwich, and I ate the tuna sandwich at the hotel, and then I did the review, and so it was very interesting. It was a very interesting beer. So, but that was at the extent of my visit to merry old England, and I got to ride the subway twice. It was very nice. Well, I got to ride it 3 times. What am I saying? No fish and chips. Oh, don't even mention that. Back 50 years ago, fish and chips was like a cheap lunchtime snack, you know, a lunchtime meal or snack. It was like $1.50. You get fish and chips, which is what? French fries and fish, whatever inexpensive fish. And they would put it in newspaper. They would just like the greasy fish and the French fries. They throw it on newspaper and maybe give you some black pepper and some tartar sauce or whatever. All right, people would eat it with their fingers. All right, very cheap. Now it's like a tourist item. So when I was in British Gibraltar over there, which I went to 3 different times, it was crazy. But they had all these fish and chip shops. And I looked at the price. I was like, what? I was like, I don't think I'm paying that kind of money to eat French fries and fried fish, because I know what that tastes like. Battered fried fish. And but people were just lining up to buy it. I said, nah. That's like a common item in Louisiana, you know. So I was like, nah. I didn't buy it. I bought of course, a lot of other food in Gibraltar and Spain and Spanish Africa and England. Well, of course, I told you, the only thing I bought in England was the tuna sandwich with red cheese, which I did enjoy. It was very fishy though, but I enjoyed it. But oh no, I'm not going to get ripped off. And then they had English breakfast, which was like expensive. It was like the cheapest one you could find was $11. I said $11. I get 2 fried eggs. I could fry eggs myself. I get some bangers, which is nothing but link sausage, common. A can of Heinz baked beans. Who cannot find baked beans? Heinz. And some mushrooms, another common item. And whatever else. I said, I know what that tastes like. I'm not buying that. And I didn't buy it. And you say you never lived until you went to England and had their breakfast. I guess I never lived then, because they had it at the hotel. They had it in Gibraltar. They had it in Spain. In Spain, they called it desayunos ingleses. Blood sausage. I definitely wouldn't eat that. And then they had it in at the airport. And it looked good. I was hungry at the airport, I'll be honest. And they eating it. It's like $13.99 for I said, $13.99 for a $3 breakfast. I said, I don't believe. But I did taste a lot of whiskey. I did taste a lot of whiskey at the whiskey shops, because I was bored to death waiting for the plane. And they kept saying, you want to try this whiskey? I was like, yeah, okay. But it was interesting, you know. I mean, they approached me. She said, you want to try this very expensive Scotch whiskey? It's called Royal Salute. That's $200 a bottle. $200 a bottle, $1.75 on a lucky day. She came to me. Oh, would you? She was Indian, East India. Probably her family probably came from Bangalore or Calcutta, and she said, "You want to try this Royal Salute, 21-year age?" I said, "Well, I guess if you twist my arm," and it was great. All right. So the appearance, well, they're both golden, amber gold, so the appearance won't matter. Yes, they sell blood sausage in Louisiana, and no, I do not buy it. I must be Jewish and don't know it. I'm kidding about that. It's probably true, but I'm just kidding about it. My second cousin is Jewish. True story. Cheers, Bryce, if you're watching. All right. Smells like strong, like sort of strong single malt Scotch vis-a-vis bread crust. Must be the Glenrothes. Very mild. Damnation. Spilled a little. Very mild. Very well. Let me get my towel. I over-tipped it. I have a drinking problem, like they said on Airplane 2. Remember that movie, Airplane 2? The guy said I have a drinking problem. It was because he was tipping the glass too much and was spilling all over his chest. Not a good movie, but most movies aren't. But people say that's very lowbrow. That is very lowbrow. Well, I like lowbrow humor. I'm probably a lowbrow person. I'll be the first to admit it, like Colonel Kurtz. Be the first to admit it. All right. Taste time. We went to see that. That was in my movie going days. All right. Cheers. I would show you a website, but there aren't any. It's strong and it's oaky. It's very strong and it's very oaky. There's no way that's the Trader Joe's, because Trader Joe's was very mild, mellow, marginally sweet, very bready, and just smooth across the board. And this is not that, and it cannot be. That must be the Glenrothes 1995 to 2013 18-year age. Sorry, I was in some other world earlier. The Cornish pasty is very popular here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, a staple for miners in the early 20th century when copper mining was booming. Now today there is a pasty fest every summer. Every summer, you meant to write. Well, when I was in Gibraltar, the last day there, they had this pastry shop. And they, of course, they sold cakes, and you could pay to have them decorate the cake. And they had, anything they have at a bakery, a pastry shop, like typical stuff. But then they had these English stuffed things, English style. It was like stuffed with pork. They call them pork rolls or pork. Well, to me, it was a pork roll. I call it a pork roll. It's like a tube, like a flauta full of pork, America's other white meat. And it wasn't too expensive, but wasn't too cheap. But I figured, I'm a tourist, so I bought it. And then I went to I had some extra sauce left from Burger King, this brown sauce, which is awful. And It was sort of like, I don't know. It was, I don't know, they eat weird stuff over there because they didn't have any kind of sauce like we have at the Burger King, which was literally in the same location, like across by the corner. So I thought it was awful when I was eating it. And I think it was the sauce that ruined it. But I thought, no, this thing is no good. It's too greasy. It's like oily. It's like grease. It's like shortening or lard. It was making me ill, but I ate it, but I felt stuffed. I was like, ugh. If this is what an English pastry pork filled thing tastes like, it's nasty. And we get meat pies in Louisiana. We get spicy ground meat, beef in Natchitoches, the meat pies. But I think if I went back to Gibraltar or England itself and I got the pork pies, those little stuffed things, pork rolls, I think I would like them, but I'll have to get I would have to get better sauce, to put that on there. Yes, the pasty is a large handheld dumpling kind of thing with beef, potato, onion, and rutabaga. Oh, okay. So that's the same thing as what they sell in Natchitoches. It's like a half moon. It's like a crescent moon, and it's pinched down on the edges, and it's stuffed with the ground meat, or as some people say around here, these old people say grind meat. Grind meat. Old people like 85 years old. I'm going to the store. I'm going to get some grind meat. That's how they'll say it. Grind meat, not grind meat. Grind meat. But yeah, we get those. Mm-hmm. It was like a flaky crust, but it was like greasy. It was oily. I don't know, but I think the sauce ruined it. That stuff was a train wreck. I think if I'd have had like a remoulade sauce, even, I would have enjoyed it. Okay, so that's kind of strong. Over here, that's very mild. So I think I prefer this. Now you say you're weak. You're weak. Admit it. I'll admit it. I've always admitted it. You like mild stuff because you do not appreciate the good life. Okay, well, guess I don't. I guess I do not, because I prefer the mild, and I will go with this Trader Joe's single malt 10-year age Highland whiskey. You say Highland and Speyside. It's so different. Oh, really? I guess I'm really out of the loop because I haven't noticed much difference. All right, sweet bread. Yeah, that's not really that different. Sweet bread, but the other one tastes like sweet bread. Not sweet breads, No, I mean. But yeah. So I think this is the Trader Joe's, and it better have the correct letter on it. I got it. Okay. Well, I feel better now because I'm at 5 wins and 3 losses. 5 and 3. 5 wins, 3 losses. Now, will that maintain it? I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I think it will because I've got the what you call that stuff? Everybody, it's like the most common Speyside that everybody, the most common single malt that everybody buys. It's called not Glenfiddich. Every liquor store in the world sells it. I got the Distiller's Reserve and the 12-year age. So common. Oh, so common. I got those 2 coming up, and then I've got Finlagen. Well, that's an Isla. So how you gonna confuse an Isla to a Highland? You're not going to. And then I've got Ardbeg 10. Well, that's not possible. You ain't never gonna confuse that smoky thing. And I was looking this morning. I said I got to buy another bottle of this. This is like a jewel. Have you ever had Stroh's? Many times, and I've reviewed it twice. It used to be produced here in Michigan. Not sure if it still is. Seems the popularity really fell off over the years. Yeah, it's basically a dead item. But back in 1996, when I started my beer tasting project, I knew about Stroh's, so I sent him an email. Not an email. I wrote him actually, it might have been an email. Early email days. And I said, could you send me information about your products? And I sent my mailing address. So about 4 weeks later, I got the package in the mail. It was Stroh's Brewing, Detroit, Michigan, Detroit. And before they closed the brewery, and she said, the lady said, yes, thank you for interest in our company. And they sent me a big brochure with information about their products, and I still have it today. So we never got Stroh's branded beer here, but we used to get all their subsidiaries, Schlitz, and what else they had? Old Milwaukee, yes, we used to get that. So common. That was so common. But they got bought out by Pabst, and that's when Stroh's disappeared. Because I think Pabst wasn't buying those companies to keep them on the market. I think Pabst was buying those companies to get them off the shelf. They would own the brand, make sure that nobody ever saw it. So everybody would buy Pabst Blue Ribbon. You see Pabst Blue Ribbon. In Louisiana, you see Pabst Blue Ribbon at every beer store. Believe me, every beer store. All that other off-the-wall stuff that used to be popular in the 1950s and 60s, well, you never see that, because I think they bought it to get rid of it. Guess it makes sense. They all kind of taste the same anyway. Ain't really that big of a loss, but you know. Oh yeah, Stroh's. That man, when I used to go on road trips back in the 90s, you would see Stroh's everywhere. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois. I think even in Arkansas you would see it, but now you'd be lucky to see it in Michigan. Burley Sullivan says, you, hey, you know what, Burley? Cheers back to you. But that's the business. That's the way business works. They bought Heilemann's. Why? Probably to get it off the shelf. Nobody ever sees Heilemann. Last time I saw Heilemann 6-pack was in Mexico, of all places. I was like shocked. I was like stunned. I went to Reynosa, Mexico. Was it Reynosa? No, I think it was like Nuevo Progreso. But well, whatever, I could find out. But it was 6-packs. It said Heilemann. And then I was reading the labels like, in Spanish, Importada de la Michigan, like this. You need a Estado Americanos, whatever, I was like, imported Heilemann's old style. I said, I can't even get it in Louisiana, but I bought it. It was like $4.99 a 6-pack. And they don't care at the border. If you just have a little handful of liquor, they don't care. But if you have a lot, they're going to check. They're going to make you pay tax. And I had to pay tax when I went to Texas. But yeah, I brought it back. Tasted just like Highlands because it was from the same brewery, Miller at the time, who's doing the contract. Yeah, personally, I think I prefer the Trader Joe's. It's milder, it's breadier, it has a little more sweetness. It's not particularly sweet, but a little more sweetness, a little more even keel. This is good, and I like it, and I'm glad you gave it to me, Robert. But I think I'm gonna have to side with the Trader Joe's in this case. But I was able to tell them apart. So yes, you can tell them apart. They do not taste the same. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Y'all take care, and next time, maybe a couple of days from now, we'll do another whiskey taste challenge. Blind taste challenge.